Test review 13. Let's get it started. All right, so we're going to do the test review 13. We're going to go through these problems as quickly as we can and try to make sure that you hopefully understand them. Alrighty, so here we go. All right, so this is what is called monomial division. So the first couple of problems we'll just say probably simply divide. Notice how the instructions say divide. Very simple, kind of go from there. Now what I did here was I said I'm going to divide each one of these individually. So I'm going to show these each one individually being divided. So that's kind of what I'm writing here, going like that. 4a squared, h squared over 2a squared, negative a cubed plus 8, negative 8a cubed h divided by 2a squared, and 3a to the fourth power divided by 2a squared. You're dividing the coefficients, subtracting the exponent. So 4 divided by 2 is 2. A squared minus 2 minus 2 for the a squareds, a squared, gives you a to the 0, which you don't need, so we'll just scratch it out. And then nothing divided the h, so it's h squared. Negative 8 divided by 2 is negative 4. A cubed divided by a squared at 3 minus 2 is 1, a1. You can put the 1, you don't have to necessarily. H. And then 3 divided by 2, I'll just write it as a fraction. 4 minus 2 is a squared, so I have a squared. Put them together, and that's what you end up with. Okay, so that one right there, all you got to do, again, you're dividing them individually. And the next one is pretty much the same thing. So you can kind of see I'm going to divide these individually and say 15 divided by 3 is 5. Y cubed divided by y, which is like y1, gives me y squared. 6 divided by 3 is 2. 2 minus 1 is 1, so that's just a y. And 9 divided by 3 is 3. Y is y. Y divided by y is just, no y, so it's just 3. Put them together, and you got 5y squared plus 2y plus 3. Okay, so those are the first couple of problems, and the reason why I'm picking those problems, I really don't like that bell. All right, the reason why I'm picking those problems is because they hopefully lead you into the long division, which I will show next. All right, so now let's do the long division, and I'm going to put it here in green, but you can see what I'm doing is I'm taking the lead term, the first term that I see right here. Oopsie, didn't mean to do that. Let's try that again. This term right here, and I'm going to divide it by the lead term here. That's the key. That's what ties it into like the problems like 1 and 2, is that I'm making sure I divide like a single monomial at first. Okay, so 3x cubed divided by x is just 3x squared. Notice how it's just kind of 1 less. I'm trying to make sure I keep these simple. Okay, so I have 3x squared up here, and now that answer has to multiply the x and the 3. So 3x squared times x gives me 3x cubed. 3x squared times 3 gives me 9x squared, and then positive 9x squared. Then I change the sign. So you can see me changing the sign, and then the first term should be deleted out. 7 plus a negative 9 is negative 2x squared, and bring down the 4x. So now I'm going to take the negative 2x squared and divide it by x. And when I do that, that will give me negative 2x. So you can kind of see how that number comes in. So now negative 2 times x is negative 2x squared. Negative 2 times 3 is negative 6x. And then again, change the sign. So the first terms cancel out, but negative 4 plus 6 is 2x plus 3. And now I'm going to divide 2x by x, which would give me 2. 2 times x is 2x. 2 times 3 is 6. And again, change the sign. So 3 plus negative 6 is negative 3, and that's my remainder, which I can write here as negative 3 over x plus 3. Notice how the remainder always ends up over the divisor. Okay, so that's long division, and then let's look at number 4. Okay, so on number 4, I want you to realize that anything to the negative 1 power just means that it got moved down, so it's acting as a divisor. So just keep in mind, notice how the m plus 2 is being written as a dividing. And then you basically ignore the negative 1. Just realize that means divide. Okay? So now I'm going to say m to the fourth minus m, or I'm sorry, divided by m, gives me m cubed, which I would leave here, and then multiply. So I'm saying m cubed times n is m to the fourth, m cubed times 2 is 2m cubed. Change the signs, and then cancel the first terms. Negative 3 plus 2 is negative 5. Bring down the 0m squared. Notice how I have a 0m squared because I was missing an m squared in the terms. If I start at m to the fourth, it has to go m to the fourth, m cubed, m squared, m number. If you're missing any of them, you got to put a 0 in for those. More than likely, I'll do that to you all on synthetic division, see how well you're paying attention, more so than long division. Anyways, so there's that little tip there. Okay, so negative 5m cubed divided by m is negative 5m squared. Negative 5m squared times m is negative 5m cubed. Negative 5m squared times 2 is negative 10m squared. And then change the sign. That way the first term should cancel out. 0 plus 10 is 10m squared. And then bring down the 5m. So now I'm saying 10m squared divided by m, which is 10m. 10m times 10m times m is 10m squared. 10 times 2 is 20m. And change the sign. Cancel out the first ones. 5 plus a negative 20 is negative 15m. Bring down the negative 6. Now divide 15m by m. Notice how I'm always taking the first thing on each row and then dividing it by that lead divisor, that lead term in the divisor. So that gives me negative 15. And then multiply. Negative 15 times m is negative 15m. Negative 15 times 2 is negative 30. Change your signs. Then that will give me 24. And then that would be my remainder, which I'm going to write right there. And that's pretty much long division, folks. It's a very simple, practice the steps. Maybe try even doing that on the quiz. Like, go back and look at the quiz, because I did work out those steps, and the answer key is online. All right, so now let's look at synthetic division. Okay, synthetic division, we want to make sure that we always start off with our little box, and then, again, you're saying x plus 4. So you look at the divisor, and take the opposite of whatever it is. So if that says plus 4, then we're going to put here minus 4. And then you start putting all the coefficients of all the numbers. So if it starts out at the fourth, then that means I'm going to put 3, 4. I need to have a x to the fourth, x cubed, x squared, x numbers, which I do have. So negative 32, negative 5, and then 20. Negative 20, apparently. Oops, kind of hard to see right there. Okay, so now you always, the way it works is you always bring down the first term. Oh, you can see me setting up that one. I'll talk about why I have a 0 there in a second. So I'm going to bring down the 3, and then you got to say negative 4, the number in that little half box, times the number on the bottom. So negative 4 times 3 is negative 12. I don't know why I'm going backwards. There we go. And 4, now you can say 4 minus 12. Notice how it went down, and then that answer went back up, and then I'm going to combine. 4 minus 12 is negative 8, and then I'm going to say negative 4 times a negative 8. So now I'm saying negative 4 times a negative 8, which is 32. Negative 32 plus 32 is 0. Negative 4 times 0 is 0. Notice how the answers always go back up to the next column. Negative 5 plus 0 is negative 5, and negative 4 times negative 5 is positive 20, which means I have a remainder of 0. So I could write that answer as 3x cubed, because my answer was x to the fourth, it's always going to be 1 less. So 3x cubed, notice x4, x3, minus 8x squared. I could put plus 0x, or I don't necessarily have to. Hold up. Just 1 second. Okay, so this is what I meant to do. So I could put the plus 0x, or I could just drop it off and say, that's it. And there you go. All right, so the next one, I see a minus 3, so that means I got to put a positive 3. I've got a 2, a negative 1. Okay, it goes x to the fourth, x cubed, then there should be an x squared. So I have an x squared here. Oh, no. There we go. So I'm putting a 0 for the x squared. Then it's negative 19, then it's 15. So x to the fourth, and then I went x cubed, x squared, x number. Always keep that in mind. Okay, bring down the 2. 2 times 3 is 6. 6 minus 1 is 5. 3 times 5 is 15. 0 plus 15 is 15. 3 times 15 is 45. Negative 19 plus 45. Notice how I'm saying these. I'm just combining them. Negative 19 plus 45 is 26. 3 times 26 is 78. 78 plus 15 is 93, and that's my remainder. So then I would say 2x cubed plus 5x squared. Notice how, again, this was x to the 4th. This one is x cubed. So keep that in mind. And notice how I wrote the 93x, the remainder over the divisor. Now, there was some question on number 5. Do I have to put the zeros? No, but if you want to, you can. But if you want to leave off the zeros, then you can. Okay, so if you want to leave off the zeros, you can. And I have no idea why I kept writing that. Okay, so anyways, so there you go. All right, so those are those problems. Now let's move on to the next part. Okay, so for end behavior, you got to remember that you need to make sure you put, like, say for part A, f of x, arrow x goes to as x approaches, because those arrows mean as it approaches. What that essentially tells me is that on the left side and on the right side. Okay, on the left side, where's the graph going? Is it going up to positive infinity, or is it going down to negative infinity? And you can see on the left side, it's going up, so that's to positive infinity. Now on the right side, it's going up to positive infinity. On number 8, it's going down to negative infinity, and on the right side, it's going up to positive infinity. If they're going in the same direction, that means it's an even degree polynomial, like x squared, x4, x6, x8, x10, like that. If they go in different directions, it's an odd degree polynomial, which means like x cubed, x5, x7, x9. Okay? Then the c is how many times does it cross the x-axis. And then on number 7, we can see it crosses it 2 times. And on number 8, we can see that it crosses 5 times. I don't know why some people on the quiz could put something completely different, but there you go. Okay, so don't forget part A is what's called end behavior. So you might want to make note of this little bit and put that into your note card. Okay, so how does that differ when it's not, a graph, when all you're given is the function? Well, let's see. Okay, so part C on this one was the end behavior, and A and B we're talking about something else, like leading coefficient and degree of the polynomial. Now, so what we're saying here is on part C, we need to first figure out part A and part B. And if you look there, number 9, it's in order, which means from highest exponent to lowest. So the highest exponent was written first, so that tells me my leading coefficient here is -5. That's my answer for part A. And part B, my degree is 5. Now, the degree is an odd number, so you might want to make note that this one is an odd number. That's what we're worried about there from part B. On the other one, okay, let's keep going here. I almost forgot. So based on that being an odd, that means they need to go in different directions. The ends of the graph would go in different directions. If the leading coefficient was positive, then it would go to negative infinity on the left and positive infinity on the right. If the leading coefficient was negative, then it would go to positive infinity on the left and negative infinity on the right. This one is negative, so that means the first one to the left should be positive infinity, and the second one to the right should be to negative infinity. Now on number 10, it's not in order, so you have to find the highest exponent and say that's what should have gone first, which would have been 7y to the 6. Okay, so that means my leading coefficient is 7 and my degree is 6. And obviously 6 is even. When they're even, they go in the same direction. The ends of the graph, where the arrows would be, they go in the same direction. They either both go up or they both go down. If the leading coefficient is positive, they both go up to positive infinity. If the leading coefficient is negative, they both go down to negative infinity. So this one is positive. This number here is positive, so they're both going up. Okay, so there's that. It's not too hard, not too bad. 11 and 12, all you got to do is plug in the numbers that are in the parentheses in place of the x, and you'll have your answers. So you just type them in the calculator and you press enter and you should have your answers. So those I don't think I need to go over too much. They're pretty easy to do. Okay, so I want to go over this real quick. This is the, if you look at the top picture, that is the improper way to type in problems like number 13, and the bottom picture is the correct way. Then once you've got it in correctly, make sure you press menu 5-1. Now the reason why there is a mistake on this one is because the whole function ended up being in the exponent, which was a mistake. So we got to make sure that we press, like, say when we do x cubed, we say x cubed and then bring it back down so we can type in the x squared. Once we do that, menu 5-1, make sure you find your zeros and your relative max and relative min. Your calculator should tell you that, and it shouldn't be a problem. So that one is mainly all calculator work. So now let's look at 14. Okay, so here's the graph that I got for 14. Notice that my graph on the paper is a little bit bigger, so I had to make a little bit more space because I wouldn't have fit into -6. I can see here I have 2 zeros, and I've got, looks like 2 mins and 1 max. Okay, so kind of keep that in mind. And then let's see what happens here. So again, I press menu 5-1, and I like to work my way to the left, and then that helps me find my points. Now when I do that, hopefully you don't get too crazy with your pressing. I get a 0 at -1. Okay, remember, so that means I'm going to have a 0 right there. Then it should tell me a min. Even if it doesn't fit quite fully on your screen, it will get there. So my first min happens at -0.392, comma, -4.39. Be somewhere like there. Then I should get my max, which, be careful because this max was very close to the y-intercept, but it was 0.175, comma, -3.9. So it doesn't go up that much, nor does it give me that much space, but it's going to be somewhere like right about there. Okay, then I keep going, now I'm going back down again. Oops, and I missed it because I wasn't paying attention. Now again, be careful because I had to go back and forth a couple of times around the second minimum before it finally told me, oh, you want this minimum? 1.22, -6.37. Okay, so this one right here is negative, is at 1.22, -6.37 is like about right there. Then my last 0 is at 1.82, and again, if you get some funky little number, don't worry about it. So there's my 2 zeros, and it's like at 1.82, right about there. So I can see from the calculator, it went like this, went up a little, went back down, and then back up, put my arrows, and there you go. So that's really pretty much it, folks. A lot of this is trying to keep it short and simple. I hope to make this easy enough that y'all do well, because I hope you study, that you know you do well. I mean, I'm also putting the quiz answers online so you can look at them. I did show my work because I did have to do the work and kind of go from there. So anyways, hopefully you can do all of this and you'll do very well. Thank you so much. Don't forget, let's write the word work above your name. Okay? Thank you. Take care.